Hello, Tubes, and welcome to the third in our series of podcasts. This one here is developer Zaxtor99. How you doing today, Zaxtor?
How's it going? Might be important.
Yeah.
How's it going? How's it going, guys? Might be important to disclose that my emblem is not correct as you see it here, but I also go by ZaxtorGames on Steam or Zaxtor99 on YouTube and Twitch.
All right, and of course, my lovely co-panelist, the lovely Kitty.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Zaxtor.
Thank you.
So, let's do a little bit of history here. What was the thing for the whole why game development? There's a question for you.
Just one thing. You when I met you, you were a game reviewer and a let's player, kinda, and also clearly a gamer, a fan of games. So, what made you make this change?
Well, let's get into the history. We're doing history now.
Yeah, recap.
Because you were developing games before that, if I remember correctly.
Well, it is a good question. I mean, you ask a gamer or a game reviewer, hey, why would you want to go and develop your own games? I think that anybody that has a avid love for video games, which I've had since I was a child, back on my Commodore 64 and playing Asteroids games in the arcades. They always have dreams and inspirations of someday I'm going to make this game. And for a lot of people, it is, they want to make the next big World of Warcraft. They want to make the next big Call of Duty, something vast and crazy that they could probably never accomplish. But luckily for me, as a kid, one of my favorite games as a kid was the old Asteroids arcade game. And, luckily today, that's pretty easy to implement with all the game engines that we have use of, like GameMaker and Unity and all the other great tools we have access to. So I've always loved games, and so there's nothing better about being a gamer than being able to design and develop your own.
So what was the first game you built?
First game I built, successfully built. I mean, I tried to do a lot back when I was a kid on the Commodore 64. The problem was, as a kid, I was limited by the power of the Commodore 64 and my what I had learned. I really didn't take any books on doing it or anything like that, and I'd just get an idea and I'd put I'd start the title or whatever for a game and then give up and quit once I came to the first obstacle. And how do I do this or how do I do that? But one of the first games I made was about 2012, I believe, when I decided that I wanted to make a game based on a dice rolling game that I had played, where you were trying to roll dice. It goes by Farkle or 10,000, and I wanted to make my own version of that to see if I could do it. And the only tool that I found, I was going in and looking for easy tools to use, because I had pro experience in BASIC as a kid, but it had been more than like 30 years since I'd done anything. So I wanted something that I was kind of familiar with. And so I searched up online at Google or whatever, and I think I had options of QBasic or something and Dark Basic. And Dark Basic at the time was free, so it was something that I decided to go ahead and learn that. And so the first few games that I made was in a really kind of obsolete engine, really slow engine, especially today, called Dark Basic. But I made a game called Greedy in Dark Basic. And that was a game where, it's kind of like Farkle or 10,000 or whatever. And I wanted to play it with my son. I wanted to kind of show him, hey, I can make a game. Let's play this game together. And I still remember when I started making it, he was coming home from school and at the time, he was only, I think he was in first grade or something. And he was only 7 years old. And he loved it. He was like, wow, this is really cool. I mean, just really simple graphics. I was just drawing out, dice in paint and putting them in and stuff like that. But he loved it. He thought it was really cool. And at the time, he played Call of Duty a lot. His favorite game on the PlayStation 3 at the time was Call of Duty. So his suggestion was, Dad, you should put in like ability to shoot each other, And so, because this is a simple dice rolling game, if you know anything about Farkle. And so I sat there, I laughed at him, kind of like you guys just did. And I was like thinking about it a little bit. I'm like, you know what? Let's make this a different version, because I didn't know there were so many different names for the same game, 10,000 and Farkle, as well as like 20 other games. So the game was really popular on a lot of different platforms already. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, what if we do take a suggestion and make a completely different version of Farkle for my greedy game? And I took that in, and I was like, you know what? Instead of guns and being able to shoot each other, what we're going to have is I made the dice randomly, like a 5% chance. I think each dice had like a 5% chance or a 2% chance. I don't remember. I think overall you had like a 5% chance each dice roll of coming up with a bomb on one of the dices that you roll. You roll 6 dice, and a bomb would come up. And so you could collect 3 levels of a bomb, like a minimum bomb, a medium bomb, and a large bomb. And each time you use the bomb, each time you had a bomb, it would be a higher damage output that you could do. So at the start of your roll, you would have a choice between rolling the dice or using your bomb if you had one. And if you use your bomb, you get to bomb the other opponent's score and do X amount of damage depending on what level of bomb you had. And it turned out great. It's a game that, I might bring to Steam at some point. It'd be pretty easy to implement. But that was my first game that I made in Dark Basic back about 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay. I know you do reviews too. What made you decide to do that? Especially the stuff that led up to where you and I actually like came into contact.
Well, I started off doing YouTube. I made a YouTube account way back in 2007, and really didn't get into doing any kind of video game content till I think Mortal Online in around 2010. And from there, it just started. I decided to. Around 2012, 2013, I think I started throwing a few, game reviews and stuff like that as I buy a new game. And around 2014, I believe I started really picking up, when Steam started picking up, at least in my life, I started buying games on Steam. And I realized even back then how much utter crap was being sold on Steam. And I'm like, you know what? I need to do my part. If I buy a game and it's a piece of junk, or I don't like it, or a great game, a great indie gem, I need to let people know about it. And that's where kind of my first plays on launch days and, all that was born, in a sense, was when Steam started picking up, at least in my life, and started buying more and more games on Steam. And by the time I had met you, we'd already come across games like, I believe when I'd already met you, I believe I'd done the Slaughtering Grounds a few months before that,
and then was Digital Homicide. Oh yeah,
mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I remember that stream.
our very first stream together, we decided to talk about Bromine versus Sterling. It's actually still to this day one of the most watched videos on my channel.
Wow. Yeah,
including all the other shit that I did.
It's amazing how much publicity a bad developer can get.
Yeah.
And it's sad to me because even today, I use Keymailer like a lot of content creators do to get, free games. But even today, developers know this, and they will be offering their keys to games they have to know is complete garbage. To even people like me, knowing that I'm probably going to tear it to shreds in a video review if I make a video of it. And they're willing to, they're still hopeful that I'll make a video and tear it to shreds just because they know that bad publicity is still publicity.
Yeah,
our previous guest said as much. People from PR firms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's talking about the AndyBros, and they say they're lucky to get 20%. Actually, a 20% response rate of any kind is considered just absolutely brilliant.
Wow,
that's a good week for them. I know in other cases they were talking about. I know in other cases they say, 5% is still good. You send out 100 keys and 5 of them come back with some sort of with something actually attached to them, or at least an email saying, "Hey, yeah, we'll check this out."
Well, I can give you some specific information about my one game on Steam as far as, I've put out a lot of updates for it, especially when I got that negative review and I started trying to fix things and make the game better because of that review that I got a couple weeks ago. And once I started putting out those updates, I noticed in, my ability to go in there as a developer, I can basically push out a message that says, and it only goes to people that have the game. But it would come out to your front page on Steam and it would say, hey, recently updated this game. Go check it out again, or whatever. And I'm sure you noticed that on Steam.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those a few times.
So on that anyway, I was getting a return of around 1%. So 1% of the people that saw, hey, Rock and Roll has been recently updated, click here to check it out. The click rate on that was around 1%, which is real low.
Well, it's better than zero, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many clicks it gets. I mean, you're talking about a platform on Steam, and again, it's only people that already own the game. But I mean, within a couple of days, I think it was 3,000 or 4,000 people had seen it. So even 1% at that point is quite a few.
Yeah, well, 1%. You're talking about 30 people at least. So
right. That's always good.
Something, Saxo, how hard it is for a new developer to put their game in the market?
That's a good question. I mean, this is my first game, and when I started working on Rock and Roll, to be honest with you, I mean, I'll have to be flat out honest. It was about a year ago, and I was doing a live stream actually, and I just had an idea to make a live stream of me dinking around in Game Maker, and I had this vague idea. Let's see what happens and see how many people watch. And I think I ended up having about 15 to 20 people watching me that night dink around. I mean, it was such a slow process. I'm sitting there drawing out sprites for an Asteroids game, and at the time I had this idea that I was going to make Zaxtorgades because my YouTube channel is called Zaxtor99. So I was going to make Zaxtorgades, really simple Asteroids clone. I mean, I wasn't thinking power-ups or anything like the game has today. My only idea was to maybe, if I could, make a spiral attack. I had this idea that instead of hyperspace like old Asteroids, you would get out of harm's way by doing a spin attack with your ship. I thought that would be cool, but I didn't know if I could pull it off. But I'm just going to make this basic Asteroids game and put it up as a free game for all my subscribers or something like that was kind of my vague idea. And then I'm getting all my viewers watching and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, this is looking pretty cool, because within 2 or 3 hours of the stream, people were seeing it come together a little bit, and the basic, I was getting things to work and function correctly. And they're like, this looks pretty cool. Maybe you should develop this a little bit more and throw it up as a $5 or $10 game on Steam. And enough people kind of suggested that I'm like, all right, well, if I do that, it has to be something besides Zaxtorgades. So I quickly decided on Rock and Roll, Roll kind of defining the spiral attack, and Rock, of course, being the asteroid. And that's how Rock and Roll was born. But, this is my first game that I've published or put anywhere besides Game Jolt as a free game or whatever. And it started on Steam Greenlight back when Steam Greenlight was still a process. But now, without Steam Greenlight, I think it's extremely easy to develop a game. And even if you don't want to pay the $100 fee to get a game up on Steam, I mean, going to a place like Game Jolt is really, really easy. And in the, itch.io, and there's a lot of other websites where developers, new developers, can try out a game they're developing and kind of see what kind of response it's going to get if they don't want to pay the $100 on Steam to get it up. But I can't imagine that it's ever been easier to, launch a game for public consumption.
Okay, so now you mentioned a minute ago that you had a really bad review. How do you deal with that? I mean, really.
Well, that's a good question. And for me, I mean, bad reviews, I think, are going to be something that maybe you should expect. And if I go back to when I launched Rock and Roll back in July in early access, I was nervous because, to me, putting my game up on a website that is world known as the biggest, indie game selling website possible in front of tens of millions of people, was something that had me awake the night before it launched. I was really, really nervous, and I kept having this, this fear that 8 people were going to buy it the first week or the first day or whatever, and all 8 of them would be negative reviews, and people would just be slamming it. And so that was my fear. And fortunately, that didn't happen. Most of the reviews that did come in, which were very limited compared to the number of people that were actually buying the game, but most of the people were, giving it praise for the most part. But then you come along 6 months later, after I have 300-400 hours of time into the game, and I mean, Rock and Roll is my baby. It's the first game that I've published. It's the first game that I've really put that much work into. And then to see a review where it's torn to shreds initially, even though it was a review that I could turn into a better game. Initially, when you see that negative review, it hurts. And like I say, any developer that says that seeing their first negative review for their first published game say that it doesn't hurt, either they just don't care enough, or they're flat out lying. Would be my take on that. But I think you just handle it the way you would any other criticism, that you take in life, whether it be, your wife or your kids or whatever telling you have a booger on your nose or whatever. You got to be thankful for that. You got to be like, son, thank you for telling me I have a booger on my nose before you go to the store, because now I can wipe it off and I'm not looking like a schmuck at the store. So it gives you the ability. You got to be thankful for that kind of stuff, because it gives you the ability to clean it up, make it better, or look better, or whatever. Mm-hmm. For the future.
The other thing the other thing I've heard is don't jump immediately to fix everything that some asshole leaves. You gotta kind of pick your battles there,
right?
Because someone could demand 1,000,006 features, and you might only be able to deal with like 4 or 5.
Right. Absolutely, and I think you do have to. You have to be able to understand the difference between somebody just saying your game is garbage and trying to be a troll, if you would, and somebody that's really trying to give you, maybe in not a nice way, but give you things that maybe you need to look at for your game. Because it's easy as you develop your game and you pour all these hours into making your game, it's easy for you to think, oh, this is great, this is fun. But you got to remember, you're making a game for you. You know how to play it. You know how to do this and do that, because you're designing it, you're testing it over and over and over again. But somebody else just picking up the game for the first time, they may not know or be as efficient at doing these things as you are. Or it may not be as obvious. Like if you're making a puzzle game or something like that, it may not be as obvious to somebody who's playing the game the first time as it was to you who developed the thing.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Archibald was one of the users who suggested in the bug forum for my game a couple of things. He said, you should make a save feature, because sometimes these games are kind of long, and I don't have the ability to sit here and play a game for an hour, and it's frustrating to me. And this is kind of what he said in nicer words, but he said it's kind of frustrating to me to be playing a game, I'm doing really well in it, and then I have to go, and I lose all my progress. And I've been there before, because it takes about an hour to play a game if you do pretty well of my game. And so I certainly understood that. I kind of thought about that before, and I'm like, this is the first time he's brought that up, so let's go ahead and add that to the game. So I did add the ability to save your game into my game, so you have that functionality now. But another suggestion he made was the spiral attack, which I originally intended as just a ability, a risk versus reward move that you can make in a dire situation to hopefully get you out of danger. But I wanted some risk involved with it. That's why the spiral attack is so dangerous to use. And he kind of basically said, you should make this more of a weapon.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The spiral attack is dangerous because I use it a lot.
Oh, yeah. One thing with a spiral attack, you got to be careful with it, because if you use it, I noticed this is one thing where, I can't underestimate enough how important seeing gameplay videos or live streams are to especially new developers, because by being able to go and watch other people play my game or live stream my game, it really gave me a lot of information and the ability to either tell people kind of how to play or fix things in my game. But a lot of people go in and play my game. I noticed a lot of people would play my game and they would use like several spiral attacks in a row. And kind of like what Archibald was suggesting, hey, you should make it more of a he was kind of suggesting that I'll take all the risk away and make it be another weapon. And I'm like, no, that's really not how I envisioned or dreamed my game. I really wanted this to be a really risky move, and maybe something that you can use to do different enemies in the game as an attack. But as far as just attacking the rocks and another weapon, no, that's not how I intended it. And so I did have to tell the guy, no, I'm not changing my spiral attack to be another weapon. I've added dynamite to the game for that. You have the ability to upgrade your fire weapon and stuff like that. But you're right, Lord Crocosquirrel. I mean, you do have to pick and choose. You can't just go change everything in your game just because somebody hates on it. I mean, if most of the people are seeming to like your game the way it is, you don't just want to go and change everything because of one negative review or one critic.
Okay.
I also think it's about knowing how to handle criticism, because we see lots of train wrecks happening on Steam because of developers not knowing how to handle criticism.
Oh, you mean like Digital Homicide, or or that other guy, the guy that makes the Arcane Rays, Arcane Rays series. Arcane Rays, Occult Rays, because he has a major dislike of me, because every time he sends me a game, and he keeps doing it for reasons I don't get. You'd think he'd have won by now, but every time I get one of his games, I shit all over it.
This might be what we were talking about earlier with the bad, any publicity is good publicity, even if it's really bad. So it might be one of those kind of things.
Well, I know that's not exactly true.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think it depends on the situation. Obviously, if you look back at Digital Homicide, that they had a huge reputation. I mean, the videos, like you say, the video you did about their game where you and I talked about it was one of the most viewed videos to this date that you have.
That was the one where we went over their lawsuit against Jim Sterling.
Mm-hmm. Jim Sterling obviously helped their their popularity. Oh, yeah. But there's definitely people that bad news, unfortunately, makes the scene more than good news. I mean, how many times do you read the paper something really bad, and it definitely strikes your attention more than, hey, the weather's going to be great for the next week. I want to read about this car wreck where 20 kids got killed.
No, I hate reading those. I hate reading those things, especially if it turns out there was someone drunk at the wheel. But that's just a personal thing.
So, about your promotion of the games, how do you promote them?
That's still a learning process, to be honest with you on that. That's a great question, but it really is a learning process for me. And obviously, as a YouTube content creator, I thought a big advantage for me creating my first game and putting it on Steam was going to be my ability to self-promote my game. But I don't know if it's just the game itself is such a niche game and a game, a retro game from so many years ago that it has such a limited appeal anyway, that even my own self-promotion hasn't helped a whole lot. But I would strongly suggest that anybody, unless they're just made out of money, even if you are made out of money, unless you just want to lose money, when I put my game up on Steam, I started getting all kinds of emails, offering to promote my game and boost sales and this and that for this amount of fee, or for $99, or for this. I've even had lots of people come to me and offer, hey, $50 and I'll get you, 20 positive reviews on your game or whatever. I really think any new developer needs to really stay away from that kind of thing. Unless they're just really taking a big risk, because let's be honest, your first published game, you're probably not going to make a whole lot of money on it anyway, unless you're just either really lucky or you've really made a gem, like
Undertale.
Yeah, like Undertale, or what is it, Star? what is the game? Stardew Valley.
Yeah, Stardew Valley, PUBG. My time at Porsche has been doing particularly well, it would seem.
Oh, yeah.
And Staxel is doing quite a bit better than I expected it to, which is kind of interesting. Farming simulators seem to be a thing right now, and here probably in about 3 weeks it'll be completely overdone and nobody will care. Okay. So have you
getting over it has seemed to do pretty well too.
Yeah, well, oh yeah, that one too. I forgot about that one. All right. So over it. There's so others that have actually done really well just on meme value. I can't believe it's not gambling Game of the Year edition. Yeah, I remember that one.
Oh, for sure.
I played it. I didn't cover it, but I did play it. And because I bought it, I think for $1, or actually, I think I bought it for less. I think it was on sale. But that game was freaking hilarious, and for no reason other than it was nothing but loot boxes and taking the piss out of EA and Ubisoft and freaking Activision. Anyway, where was I going with that? Oh, right. Have you ever actually considered contacting a firm, a PR firm, or a marketing / community place like the AndyBros?
I haven't really talked to AndyBros yet. I did reach out to one, and I don't even remember their name. I did reach out to one marketing agent that had, I believe they have about 20 or 30 games on Steam from different developers.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me to contact them as soon as I, was ready to launch my second game. But pretty much after you've already launched a game, it's kind of too late for them to do anything to help your game. So yeah, it might be something that people want to do before they publish the first game if they're going to do it. I would, unless you have money though, I honestly would. I don't know that I would be willing to give one of these guys a percentage or especially money up front for a game that you just don't know is going to do well. I think I kind of handled it the right way, to be honest with you. I think I just do it yourself first, see what you can do, and see if you can start gaining some attraction of some of these people that are wanting to make a piece of pie.
Yeah, well, AndyBros says AndyBros might be able to pull you out. That at least be willing to try at this point.
Yeah.
But well, you watched the thing with Eric anyway, so you already know that.
Yeah, I watched most of it, and he seems like a pretty cool guy. And it might be something that I decide to reach out to AndyBros or some other people to help you market your game at some point. But I'm, to be honest with you, I can't give out specific numbers for rock and roll, but let's just say that it's doing considerably better than it started out of. It's kind of been a roller coaster and a snowball effect since it launched. And while it didn't have a whole lot of initial sales, sales as of late have magnified exponentially. So it is growing.
That's at least a good thing. No, I know that you. I do know that you started it out at what, $2?
$2.99, yes.
Yeah, and yep. Then I talked you into increasing the price.
Yeah, it's something that once you start putting a lot more work into, as far as all the hours, because I've put in most of the time into work and development in that game since it launched. To my surprise, it's one of those things where I originally thought when I put it in early access that I was almost done. I had a couple of ideas out there. And for a game like that, there's just so much you can do with it, and so many ways you can take it, and so much you can add that I just added so much more than I ever thought I would. That really raising the price to something I thought was more on par with what I thought the value really was only made sense. And I did try to handle it the right way. I'll let people know more than a month in advance of the price increase on Steam and that sort of thing. But I do feel that you still get a strong value for your money, and I always want to be fair to any potential customer with my game.
Okay.
I saw you posting a video about an upcoming game, or maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, and that's something I really don't know if I want to. I might be looking at putting out a 99-center game or 2. I really haven't decided yet. It was something that I just thought, this would be cool to add on Steam. And I haven't decided yet. I've recently started messing around with that the last couple of games I made, including Rock and Roll, were all made inside of Game Maker Tutorial. And as of recently, the past few days, I've really started digging and getting into Unity. So I might put out a 99-cent game or to here in the next month or so. I really haven't confirmed that 100%, but I did think I was going to put that game out when I first started making it. But then I was like, I don't know. I really haven't put a whole lot of work into this game. It might do better than Rock and Roll. It might, do well, but something about me just feels like it's kind of dishonest to put a game up on Steam that I only have, 8 or 10 hours of work into.
Well,
so I don't know.
I can imagine why that would be. I mean, 8 or 10 hours is most of what the really crap developers put in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was going to say, well, none of my games will ever be an asset flip, and I can definitely guarantee that I'll never make an asset kind of a flip game or something that's not genuinely made by myself. Still, when I only put a few hours of work into a game and to put it up for on a website for a price, something about that kind of feels I don't know. It's just not something I'm not sure I want to do.
Rather than be thought of as dishonest and wrong.
Yeah,
right.
Because you have your entire past as a gamer, so you know the consumer end.
Yeah, exactly.
I took a poke around at the last one you sent me. It was color-changing asteroids, which I thought was actually actually quite entertaining. I know you were talking about redoing Lemma Maze. I remember that one I remember getting my butt kicked at that one the last time we tried it. Whereas you managed to make it. I think you actually managed to find the right combination of elements to get through Mobile Food Madness.
Yeah, and that's one of the, you mentioned the games that I first made. That was one of the second game I made in Dark Basic was a game based on a lemonade selling game I loved on the Commodore 64 as a kid, and I made a couple of versions of that back in 2012, 2013 after I made that first Farkle type game, and my kids had fun with that. I really when I made that, I wanted to make a game where my son could play something besides the Call of Duty that I mentioned before, and maybe learn something. Maybe learn, hey, this is this price. I need to go buy so much sugar. I need to go buy so much ice. I need to set the price right based on where I am in town and the temperature and the weather elements and stuff like that. Really make him think rather than just bam, boom, 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 boom. And he liked that game pretty well. My daughter liked that game quite a bit as well. And that's a game I think that, honestly, if I did that game right, I think that game would probably draw a lot more demand on Steam. So I do plan on remaking Le Maze here in the coming months, and that will definitely be a launch on Steam at some point in the future.
All right. Let's see. What do we got? What do we got next, Kitty?
Now it's open questions.
Open questions.
Isn't that where we were already?
No, actually, we actually had something of we actually had something of an outline to begin with. It was kind of scary.
No, imagine a squirrel and a kitty doing an interview. It's a recipe for a disaster if you don't have an outline.
Yeah, I can imagine. You get a squirrel and a kitty together. Who knows what's going to happen, right?
Oh, look, I was shiny.
Oh, look, a kitty. Oh, run, flee.
Oh my God, wait. A squirrel. Let's kill it.
I can already hear the squirrel sounds and the cat rearing and squealing, and yeah, I can already kind of picture it already, and yeah.
Yeah, that's why we keep up with the cat and the squirrel memes, I swear. Some of these things.
Yeah. And there are also those animations and even videos on YouTube on cat and squirrels, and we shit post them saying that this is footage of our working hours.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine.
Yeah, no, some of the seriously, dude, go look at. You should go look in the. You should go look in the Crocosquirrel Discord. It's hilarious sometimes.
I'll have to do that.
But
just links in there or what?
No, actually, believe it or not, some of them just get posted straight up.
Okay.
Others get links and just all kinds of silly fun. Oh, so
We became a meme.
Well, I can imagine.
A fun meme at that. So out of curiosity, how about you tell me about about that whole thing that happened here a while back, just in case nobody's actually figured it out. I mean,
what thing?
Oh, the developer that swiped was it you that had the problem? No, that was Meownick. I'm sorry. Okay, so here's a question.
Okay.
If you had peoples that did not respond, they just accepted their keys and walked away, and never did anything with them, what would you do? What would you do? What would you do about that?
Oh, okay. I think, I think that maybe what you were referring to when you asked about that thing, a developer that revoked keys. Yes, that is something that happened a couple of months back, or a month back, something, I don't know. Lose track of time. But yeah, it really baffled me to see that a developer who had put out keys on Keymailer and gave developers keys to play his game.
Reviewers.
It was right before Christmas as well. I do remember that. In about a month,
the 20th or so
like, you know
December.
What? Yep, exactly. Right before Christmas, he decided, I'm going to revoke all these keys that I gave away to content creators who said they want to play my game.
Or, that hadn't done anything yet.
Yeah, that hadn't done anything yet, or made a video review or let's play or whatnot. It baffled me, and I kind of attacked him on his forums or in his post, I believe, where he said he revoked all these keys because it happened to be that I was trying to go and play his game. I had record set on my recording software to record a first play of his game about a month after I got the key, because I got to be honest with you, as a content creator here, I get so many more keys than I can ever get to. So if I go and I get to a key that I've been given to play a game, that's one of the lucky games, one of the lucky developers that, hey, I'm making a video for. Maybe not lucky because I'm that big on YouTube, but like I said, as an indie developer myself, it is so valuable to see anybody play my game. It's valuable information to be able to see that. It's nice to be able to see that. So, and I was going to start recording this game, and it was revoked. I saw that it was revoked, so I went to and saw that his announcement about how he revoked keys because people had made videos. And I just think that's a very bad PR move for any developer to do. And the first time I've seen it, I had never seen it before. And I pretty much stated that. I mean, I let him know this. Hey, this is the first time I've seen this out of hundreds of keys that I've been given by developers. I've never seen this until now.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at with that. That was kind of my thinking as well. So speaking of reviewing, what types do you like to do? What types of
reviews do I like to do? Or what types of games do you mean?
Yeah,
what is your favorite kind of game to review?
Oh, okay. I think that it really depends on the day and my mood. I mean, just like some days I feel like playing Dead by Daylight. Some days I feel like diving into a deep RPG, and some days I just really want to play a game much like my own game that I made. I want to shoot some baddies in a quick action, dodge type of game, bullet hell, if you would. So it really depends on my mood, but overall, I think I really want to play and put a video up for not something like Stardew Valley that already has a lot of hype, but what I want to do when I review a game is I want to find a little gem out there that's either getting shit on unfairly or that just has no reviews. And there are so many of these games on Steam because games get buried so quickly. There are games now that have been put out for 6 months, a year, that have no reviews.
Yeah.
Not a single review on the page, and they are a lot of fun. That is the type of game that I want to give exposure to. That is the type of game I want to help out if I can, whether it be just even if I'm critical in the review and I say, hey, this needs fixed, this could be better this way, but I'm going to give you a score of a 65%. I think it could be better if you do this, and that. That's really the games that I love helping out more than anything and kind of giving exposure to. If I can help them generate, 3 or 5 or 10 sales, I feel good about my time invested in that.
I don't know. There are other games. Well, there are other games we've sold. We sold a couple of copies of right on the stream before the stream's even over. So,
oh yeah,
that's been known to happen.
One game, and another thing too, to be, I think something that there's a lot of content creators that use Keymailer now, or that that want to do like you and I do, Kage, that want to kind of give people a first glance at these indie games. It's pretty popular now on YouTube. A lot of people are doing this. But I think one thing that we need to all be careful of, as content creators who are reviewing these games, is we need to really be careful and mindful of what we are shitting on, because I think some of these games, even I go back now and I look at some of these games that I might have yelled and screamed about, might have had a lot of work put into them by a developer. And the last thing I would want to do is go crap all over somebody's hundreds of hours of work, especially if they're making like a 3D game or whatever. I mean, I think we know the difference between no effort asset flips or a game that somebody's really put a lot of work into. But I think we really need to be careful on going and just crapping all over something that, especially if you go to the bad review that I got, the first line in his review was, "Hey, this looks like an uninspired asteroid clone." And I think that's one reason that review hurt so much, because anybody, if they go to that store page and they look at my page and they see that I've put up 85, 90 updates since I launched it, it's probably not uninspired.
Well, it was inspired by something.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. I mean, to say that it's uninspired, that makes it sound like, hey, this is a no effort asset flip. So the way you word things and stuff like that as a content creator towards any game, you need to be careful. But what I was getting to is, I played a game a couple of days ago, and I want to make a video for it. But there is a game that's kind of getting some bad reviews that came out a week ago, or a little over a week ago now, called Bikur. And it's a game I was given a key to by the developer. And the guy made a simple bicycle, and he made a game. His first game, I believe, was last November, and it was called Bike of the Wild or something like that. I have not tried that yet, but it's a $5 title, and I think it has mostly positive reviews. But then he just put out a 99-cent game using the same kind of game engine, it looks like, and it's kind of out in space, and you can fall off the edge of these planes, and there's obstacles that you can try to get your bike over. And I was going to make a video of that game, my first play. And I got to be honest, when I first started playing it, I'm like, oh my God, these controls are god-awful. This is a no-effort piece of crap. And I made a 10-minute video tearing that game to shreds. Mm-hmm. And I think I gave it a 1 out of 10. In my video review, I was, I'd edited the video. I was ready to upload it. And as it was processing that 10-minute video where I tore it to shreds, I just happened to go look at the other reviews for that game, the other handful of reviews it had. And I saw somebody had given the game a really high praise, and they had like 12 hours or something like that, some crazy amount of time in the game. And I'm like, what, really? I was like, is this one of those fake review kind of things, or somebody just leaves it running? And no, I read the review, and it kind of hit me. I'm like, wow, maybe I was a little bit too critical in the game. This guy says it starts off hard, it starts off difficult, and if you don't give it a little bit of time, you're going to think it's a bad game. But if you give it a little bit of time. So I went back and I played the game even just another 15, 20 minutes. And I started realizing, hey, this is kind of fun. This is kind of cool. For a 99-cent game, I'm pretty damn impressed, because, it starts off having you so frustrated that you can't do anything. You're like, it's a piece of crap. But then if you play it just a little bit more, Bikur is the name of this game. Wow. It's got some pretty nice physics and mechanics built into it. It's not perfect. It's frustrating as hell. But if you put a little bit of time into it, and I ended up giving that game a 9 out of 10 review, especially considering the value. I haven't made a video of it yet, but I think we need to all be kind of careful about that and make sure that sometimes we might be giving games negative reviews that we just haven't spent enough time with.
Well, that's always that. Oh, that's a complaint a lot of people have with their. That's a complaint a lot of people seem to get to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it hit me with that game.
When I look at a game that seems interesting to me as a consumer, forget that I sidekick as a reviewer with Crocosquirrel. What I like to look at reviews. He doesn't. He likes to be as unbiased as possible. But I like to look at reviews. But there's one thing that I look, both in positive and negative reviews, how much time that person have played the game before putting a review.
Correct.
This is one of the things that make me believe in that review in some shape or form, even if it's a negative review, even if it doesn't offer any contribution. Oh, I like the game, and positive review. Oh, this game is shit, negative review. But you have to take a look at how long did that person play the game. And
you got a good point.
It frustrates me to see that the person has played 5, 10, 15 minutes, 20 at most, and then post the review. I have several games that I want to post a review, but not unless I have put some time into it.
Right. I think it depends on the type of game you're playing. I mean, you have a great point. There are so many reviews where somebody, plays 0.1 hours, which if you convert that, that's 6 minutes. And they write, "Oh my God, best RPG ever," with 15 exclamation points. And, or the same thing. I mean, they play 0.1 hours and say, "This is the biggest waste of money ever. Don't waste your money, blah, blah, blah." But I do believe some types of games can be reviewed pretty quickly. I mean, some games just don't offer a whole lot of content. And a game, even a game like my own game, I believe, can have a fairly decent, first impressions review put up within 30 minutes or so, compared to, you really can't do that if you're playing something like Skyrim or some big deep RPG or something like that. You're probably not going to be able to give it as fair a review if you've only played it less than an hour.
Well, if you have something like Skyrim,
visual novels, if you don't go into the story, it's
True.
Also
Yep.
You don't get the entire story. You get the intro to the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then it all comes out, and then it all goes to shit. But no, it's if you play a game like Skyrim for like 20 minutes, and they say, "No, this is crap," I'm gonna call you an idiot.
Right.
Because that's.
Give me just a second. I have my kids coming in, so give me a second. All right, guys. I need you to be quiet. I'm doing an interview with somebody, so just keep it. Go let Badamli out, and then keep it down for just a minute. Okay. Or a few minutes.
All right. So.
All right, I'm back.
Children are children. That's the way it works.
Yep. Children getting home from school, and he's brought all his friends over too. So.
Oh well, that sounds like fun too. All right. So, I got a question for you.
Okay.
You'll love this one. You've remade Asteroids and done some improvements. When are you redoing Defender?
Defender, are you talking about more like Galaga or the Galaxian? Is it?
No.
Defender.
Defender. Remember Defender?
I'm trying to remember
the
Defender.
Arcade Defender. You were running around and saving people from the aliens, putting them back on the ground.
Oh, okay. Yes. Is that the one where there's mountains and you're picking them up and
that's
depositing them? Okay. Yeah, it's been on forever since I played the game. Not a game that I played a whole lot of as a kid, but now that you mentioned that, I do remember the vague idea of that. Yeah, and there was kind of mountain and you could crash your ship if you weren't careful, and wasn't there aliens shooting at you and stuff. Yeah, I'd have to go and play that game again. To be honest with you, to get a good feel for it, because it's a game I really never played a whole lot of. Seems like a fun game now, though, that I think about it, and I'll have to take a look at it.
There's that, and there's Galaxian / Phoenix / any one of 100 other matters, 100 other similar things. I mean, we've the whole Space Invaders clone style thing got overdone by.
Oh, for sure. Even Asteroids probably got overdone.
Well, I was thinking about things. I was thinking about the bathroom horrors of Digital Homicide.
Oh yeah, and how they did the whatever it was that they did, where the several different mirror images of.
Yeah.
For the asteroid, I mean not the asteroids, but the Galaga type game.
Yep, except of course if they had all kinds of retarded shit. If you actually sat down and did it properly, we could what?
Is Defender a game that you liked as a kid or that you've
yeah.
enjoyed over the years? Okay.
Defender, Missile Command, all sorts of things. Although the last time I saw someone try and do a Missile Command clone, they got ripped open. So it'd have to be something really good to get that working.
Missile Command was a game I played a lot more of than Defender as a kid. I remember really liking Missile Command. I believe I played that on the Atari 2600.
Yep, the A2600.
Something like that. Yeah, I think so. And years after I even got my Commodore 64, maybe it was on the Commodore 64 where I played Missile Command. I'm not sure, but it was a pretty good version, and I had a lot of fun with it.
I don't know. I kind of want to remake Ultima.
The old Ultima series, yeah. That would be the old, really simple dungeon crawling type of game.
Ultima, Bards Tale, and what was that other one? Might and Magic. Those were all really good as far as I was ever concerned.
Yeah, I played Bards Tale 1. I remember getting sucked into that. Found a free version of that back in the Navy. Yeah. On the old 286 computer. It was we had roommates in the Navy, and my roommate had a desktop computer, and I sat there and played out. He would go home on the weekends, and I would sit there on his computer and play that all weekend. The original Bards Tale, and I really got sucked into it, even 10 years after it was the thing.
Yeah, no, I was actually I first ran into the Bards Tale not terribly long after the release of Bards Tale 2. I found the two of them in a pack for $10 somewhere. I'm like, I got to do this.
Yeah, totally good value.
My Commodore 64 and I spent a lot of time playing some of those games. The old Gold Box AT&T games. Remember those?
I do.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I actually was over at GOG here recently and got almost all of them. The only ones I'm missing are the Crin games now.
The big thing I remember about the Bards Tale game was, and it seems kind of monotonous now, but you realize you was not high enough level. Your characters weren't high enough level to go wherever you wanted to go and do whatever mission you needed to do. So I remember just sitting there going back and forth across the street, going into houses to hopefully spawn, 92 wolves or whatever, and get experience and doing nothing. But you weren't even searching the town. You were just going out one door into the next one, back and forth, using the up key, I think, just going back and forth across the street and spawning new creatures inside of a house to have those fights to gain experience. Oh, yeah. And now you think about that, and I was like, oh my God, how monotonous could that be? But all random numbers, you spawned 15 wolfmen, and the next time, you spawned 34 blobs.
And a bunch of zombies. And
yeah,
zombies
exactly.
were terrible.
Completely random
zombies. Zombies and ghouls were just freaking deadly. And if you didn't have the gold to resurrect your critters, you'd have to go back and start all over again with a new one.
Oh, yeah. You had to go to the gods to pay a fee.
There's a thing about zombies that people just put the zombies to say in the description that there are zombies in the game. They serve no purpose. Well, you got to realize that 30 years ago, zombies were actually a thing that worked. These days you put zombies in your game and everything. Again.
Right. And people are like, again, this is the 10,000th zombie, survival game.
Zombie game on Steam alone. The fun part of it is you can actually get the old Bards Tale games if you buy the original the Bards Tale kind of sort of semi reboot thing on Steam. It's actually kind of cool.
And speaking of zombies, I really think that if you're thinking about being an indie developer, you're thinking about developing your own game, and this goes for not anything, whatever you think your thing is going to be about, whether you want to do a survival game, an RPG, or you want to do another zombie game. I think the important thing to remember, and like I say, I don't have a ton of experience here, but I think what I'm saying here comes from being a gamer, not being a game developer, being a person that's reviewed a lot of these games. I think as an indie developer, rather than saying, I'm going to make the coolest zombie game ever made, and I'm going to make this thing. And centering your whole idea around zombies, or centering your whole idea around an RPG or a shooter or whatever survival game, you really need to think, I want my center of my game not to be zombies, not to be shooter, not to be survival. The center of your game needs to revolve around fun.
Yep.
If you make a fun game, fun needs to be the center of your game. And then if you make a fun game, then for example, rock and roll. For example, that could be rocks coming in at you and you could be a spaceship, or you could take the exact same engine, the same concept, and that could be a guy in a cornfield, and the rocks could be zombies swarming you instead of rocks. So, I think developers really need to say, hey, I want to make a core mechanic be fun. That needs to be the center of my game. And then it doesn't matter what you make on the outside. Make it be rocks, make it be zombies, make it be whatever. But the center of your game really needs to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I started playing games in arcades and tabletop games. I think the first one that I played, if I'm not mistaken, was Lord of the Rings. It was a thing back then.
Yeah, it still is, actually.
I had a shared computer with my father, so except the boyfriend that I had that had Atari and stuff, I came into the other kind of games a little bit later. My first very own, not anybody touching it computer was about 2002, 2003.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of limited in what I could play.
Right.
And I supported my arcade gaming by doing the homeworks and research for my classmates and selling
there you go.
them. Yeah, being a nerd sucks, but it gives you some money.
Speaking of games and nerdiness and stuff like that, I still remember back when I got my Commodore 64 in the 80s, and I would type in all these games out of Compute Magazine and stuff like that, which, I loved a lot of those games, but so many of them were just boring. And I would do, back then I would do 10 hours of typing in code, play the game for like 30 seconds to be like, this sucks, and move on to another one to type in. But back then in the early 80s, when I had my Commodore, and throughout the 80s, I mean, really playing games and stuff at home was really pretty nerdy back then. It was really kind of a geek, kind of a niche thing. And if you went home and typed in code out of a magazine to get some stupid little game, oh my God, you were a geek galore. But that has really changed today.
I started Basic together with the boyfriend that had the Atari.
Right.
We started coding together. It was fun. It was in the early 80s. But I personally was limited to arcades, and that's it. And if I didn't have solved any buddies' homework to them or their research, their assignment, I was broke.
You're not playing, yeah. Back then, that's good that you had that in your heart though to do that. But yeah, it's amazing how time changes things. And I mean, being a gamer couldn't be any cooler today. I mean, everybody's like, especially if you're a lady that likes games. Oh man, you are awesome.
My girlfriend from school, my best forever friend that we stopped talking mid 80s. Best forever friend is awesome. We went only 2 girls at the arcade. Right,
I can see that. Where I haven't been in an arcade in years, but I can imagine even the arcades nowadays probably have quite a bit more females in them today than they did back in those days. Yeah. There's no other reason to look for all the cool guys playing games. They didn't do that back in the 80s. Oh. Girls weren't going to our video game arcades to look for hot guys. They were going to or whatever to look for the hot guys.
Actually, my nerd boyfriend, we met at the beach playing volleyball. So
there you go.
We were weird nerds because we were both volleyball players.
Volleyball's a fun game. Speaking of volleyball and games, a game that I haven't seen a whole lot of on Steam or anywhere else. I mean, I know that there have been a few volleyball games over the years, but we certainly don't see as many volleyball video games as we do zombie games and survival games and stuff like that. That would be an interesting idea for a game.
Recently, what we have seen more in sports game has been soccer, football, and racing. Anything else?
Baseball, basketball.
Yeah. Oh, wrestling.
Wrestling, yeah. A lot of those, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Here in Brazil, volleyball is still very high thing. It loses to soccer, of course, but it's still a high-ranking game.
Yeah, I think it could be made into a fun game, especially if done right. I think to really make a fun volleyball game that people would want to play, I think you'd really have to be somebody a lot more experienced and skilled in development than I am. But I can imagine like good graphics and somebody, you know, spiking a ball right over the net, edge of the net, and hitting somebody in the face and seeing their facial expressions grimace as they get smacked in the face with the ball or whatever.
I wish someone had filmed me, recorded me serving back when I used to play. Nobody could catch a ball that I served. Oh, God.
Yeah, it was a lot of fire on it, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. Every time I try to do that, I hit the net or the back of my own teammate's head. I had to be safe.
I don't know.
Oops, sorry.
They didn't used to let me serve for exactly that reason.
Yeah, I had to be safe and do an easy to hit ball. I had to, you know, hit it with the top of my fist or whatever and launch it up into the air, well over the net. My serves were definitely not fiery cannon launches for sure.
I don't know. I grew up being basically almost the only girl at the arcade, the only girl at the volleyball team at the beach, the only girl at the tabletop gaming for a long time. So it's kind of it was very cool. It was a very cool experience.
Yeah, volleyball, I think, was one of the most fun games I had. I remember playing in the Navy, playing volleyball with a bunch of Navy guys a lot, and we had a lot of fun with that. A lot of fun.
Well, it's one of the things you can do on the deck of ship.
Yeah.
Assuming that you don't get a wild ball and it winds up way over the side. That tends to annoy the captain when you do that.
Well, I didn't play volleyball on the ship. I played in when I went to school. I had 2 years of schooling in San Diego, so we had a big volleyball court out there. So it was I can't imagine trying to play volleyball on a ship rocking back and forth. That'd be a little bit treacherous, I think.
Been there, done that. Got T-shirts for it, no less.
Really?
Yeah, they still didn't let me serve because I was forever getting my teammates. Ugh. I don't play handball for exactly the same reason. I did that exactly once, and I went to grab the ball. I managed to deflect the ball right into the back of my dad's head. That was the end of that day. It was the end of my handball career. That was not happening twice.
I hated handball when I gave it a try because as a kid I played soccer.
I'm recording a video, honey, so just give me a second.
All right. But there's been loads of fun in everybody's life, it looks like.
Yeah. Back in that time when you could actually leave your kids playing on the street and forget about them until dinner time.
Oh yeah, you couldn't do that today for sure.
Oh no, you can get arrested for leaving your kids in the backyard.
Yeah.
Fenced in backyard, you can get arrested for that. What? Anyway, so we've actually got kind of far afield. Is there any advice you have for developers coming up?
Being a new developer myself, I think the biggest thing I can give any advice to, and this goes not only to being a new maybe indie game developer, but also targeted at people wanting to do anything, whether it be starting a workout program or maybe being a YouTube or a Twitch content creator. I think it applies to so many different things. And I think so many times in our lives, we have this thing that we have in the back of our mind that, hey, I'm going to do this. But we make excuses for ourselves. And as a game developer, you could be like, oh, you know what? I really want to start making games, or I really want to do this game, but I need to have this in this engine first, or I need to do this first, or I want to do this first, or I want to do this for my 40th birthday, or whatever it is. All these excuses we make to start a workout program, to start making a YouTube channel because you think you got to buy this, triple monitors, you got to buy a Blue Yeti microphone, you got to do this and this. Stop it. If it's something you want to do, if it's something you're dreaming about doing, just go do it. And for indie game development, there's so many great tools you can go use. You can go pick up Game Maker or Game Maker 2 for free. You can dink around in it. You can play around it. There's great tutorials on YouTube on how to do it. For a lot of these popular things, Unity, same thing. Pick a program. You don't have to sit there and worry about which program you're going to use. Pick one and go with it, whether it be Unity, whether it be Game Maker, whether it be Construct or Unreal or whatever. Pick an engine, dive into it, and just go do it. Just like Nike used to say with their commercial, just go do it. Quit thinking about it. Quit saying I'm going to do it when this, and this happens, or when I buy this, and this. You got to be determined. If you're really determined enough, quit making excuses, quit putting it off. Just go do it.
Get on the ball, people.
You're not going to learn how to do it unless you just dive in. You don't need to have all these things you think you need. Get in, get your feet wet, and have fun with it.
Keep at
Learn
it.
something. Exactly.
Okay. And another thing, maybe you don't need to go selling your first game. Just share with your friends, post it for free someplace else, get feedback. And instead of, hey guys, this is my first game I made with my 3 college classmates, and please be nice to me. And that's it.
Just own it and get it over with.
Yeah. I mean,
nobody cares if you're a solo developer. Is your game fun? No, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice that you give there, Lovely, as far as your first game or whatever. Give it to your friends, give it to your family, put it up on Game Jolt or itch.io for free. Let people download it, get some feedback on it, and see what they think. I've made probably about 6 or 8 games before I decided to try rock and roll with that, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I didn't try to upload my first game onto Steam or something like that, because it would have got torn to shreds. But I really think that you need to lower your expectations. If you're getting into, and it doesn't matter if you're doing it for YouTube, you're thinking about being a YouTube content creator, or you're thinking about making a game or whatever, lower your expectations. Don't go in thinking, hey, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and next year I'm going to be PewDiePie. I'm going to be Markiplier by the end of the year. Same thing with making games. You can't go in, and I don't care how good your idea is. You could have the best idea in the world for a game, but unless you really spend some time and have the skills, and really there's a certain amount of luck to it, you got to lower your expectations. Nowadays, if you spend $100 to put a game up on Steam and you make that money back, you get enough sales to make your money back. Bravo, you have succeeded. You have succeeded by making your $100 back, especially on your first game. That would be a huge accomplishment. I'm fortunate in that situation. I'm very fortunate, and that's why I'm ecstatic with rock and roll. So, you really need to lower your expectations and don't be going in expecting to make $1 million, because it's not going to happen. Yeah, it's not going to happen. You need to lower your expectations and be real, set realistic goals for yourself. Another thing too, you asked about, do I have any advice for new developers, stuff like that. One thing I've seen a lot of with people saying they want to make a game and they think they're going to go out and get Unity or buy this or that to make a game is, you also not just lower your expectations, you need to lower your vision. You really need to think about your first game. The first game you make should be a simple word game. How about making a game where you guess a number between 1 and 100 and the computer, tells you if you're high or low. Make that first. And then from that, let's move on to a Pong remake. Let's do Pong.
Tic-tac-toe.
And then after that, let's do tic-tac-toe. And then if you get really good at that, hey, let's try to remake Pac-Man. There's nothing wrong with making your own version of some of these old classics, the simple games. See if you can do it. Build your confidence. Build your knowledge of what you're doing. So many, I think, game developers go out and their very first time they get an engine or they get into it, they have this vision that, hey, I'm going to make an MMO RPG like World of Warcraft, but it's going to have Call of Duty mixed in, and you're going to be able to do all these different classes and shoot people, and they get this vision or idea.
Don't do that, because you're gonna get overwhelmed in a hurry.
You're gonna be doomed before you start. You're gonna hate life. You're gonna get started. You're gonna be so overwhelmed and not have a clue, and you're gonna quit, and you're never gonna go back again. Same thing with just same thing as like if you go work out. If you go into the gym saying, "Hey, I'm gonna bench press 300 pounds 400 times, and I'm gonna be Hulk Hogan tomorrow," not Hulk Hogan, but the Hulk tomorrow. You're just gonna go kill yourself. You're gonna be sore for a week. You're going to feel discouraged and frustrated, and you're just never going to go back to exercising again. You got to lower your vision of what's realistically going to happen or what realistically you can do. Small steps, baby steps.
Yeah, some of the games you talked about I've actually already made. Tic-Tac-Toe was interesting.
For sure.
As was the number guessing game is actually really easy. It's actually
to program.
Yeah, it's you can do it if you know what you're up to. You can do it in 10 lines of code. It would probably if you know what you're up to, it would probably take you about 20 minutes.
If you know what you're doing. One challenge I have for any indie developer that's thinking about coming out and doing something is I made my own version of Yahtzee a few years back in Dark Basic, but Yahtzee. And I would start off with even tic-tac-toe, like you mentioned. Instead of just making tic-tac-toe where you have to play with a friend, so many games, like that, you really need to play against the computer. So my challenge to anybody thinking about, hey, I want to make games, go out and make tic-tac-toe and make it so the computer can play against you and play well. Make it so the computer plays so smart that you have to put in a randomness level there to where the computer will make a mistake. So it doesn't beat you every time. Make that first. And you'll be surprised at how challenging it can be to teach the computer how to do a simple game like tic-tac-toe. And for Yahtzee, you wouldn't believe how many lines of code and how complex my algorithms got to try to teach the computer how to play a simple game, even like Yahtzee.
Yeah, well,
it's pretty involved.
You have to teach it where to put its numbers first.
Exactly. What's a value, with what numbers to, what dice to keep, what dice to reroll, when. It gets pretty involved, and take on something like that before you go out and try to make the next World of Warcraft. It would be my big advice for anybody.
Not gonna happen.
Exactly.
Why do you think I started out doing that kind of thing, making visual novels of all the things?
Yeah. For sure.
Oh, you like visual novels?
Well, I like visual novels to begin with. Yes, that's exactly true. However, visual novels are very code simplistic, and we can do them and with some work. It takes a little bit of work to do them, but they're not impossible to do. I mean, admittedly, you need a decent artist if you don't know how, but still.
Yeah, I mean, everybody I think has a story to tell, and visual novels are a great way to show people who you are, what you're about, and what's in your heart. I would think the problem with me for like visual novels would be the art. I don't want to go and be stealing art or having to buy art for one of my first games like that. But maybe make a story or a visual novel like an old Choose Your Own Adventure, like the books we used to read back in the 80s or 90s, and have no pictures to start off with.
Well, they actually they make books like that. I don't even know what it takes to make what thing they use to make those. I've actually considered it a couple of times.
I have a couple of text-based visual novels. Actually, they are not visual novels; they are text-based novels, and you have a bit of text of the story, and then you make a choice. And it's super interesting. Nola is Burning is one that I've been playing.
What engine what are they using to make those anyway? Do we know?
I haven't finished it yet. Didn't get to the credits. I've and you get the initial screen only once at the beginning, unless you quit what you're doing. So I don't remember. I didn't pay attention, but I don't remember that at the engine showed.
Do you know which one they use for that, Zach?
I don't. It might be some kind of proprietary thing owned by. I might guess it'd be some proprietary engine owned by the. What's the name of that company that does all those? I can't even remember, but I mean, I love a couple of those text adventures you're talking about. I mean, Zombie Exodus is fantastic, and I'm highly anticipating the part 2 of Zombie Exodus Safe Haven. That should be out sometime soon. I'm hoping. So, yeah, I mean, you don't have to have another good reason. Like I say on my channel all the time, you don't have to have good graphics or any graphics at all to have a really good game.
Choice of games.
Choice of games. There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
What's it called?
They have something.
Yeah.
Choice of games.
Yep, no pictures.
I really enjoy their games.
I think they're good. I mean, you obviously have to have good writing ability and the ability to. I mean, you have to have somebody that could almost write their own book to have a really good.
You don't write only one story. You, from the moment that you make a choice, you have to get
branch it out
with the different scripts for each one of those choices, and that choice makes another choice. It's a very elaborate writing. Actually,
I've been known to. I've actually see. Here's the sad part. I've actually been known to do that.
Yeah, those can make great games.
You should do it because it's not one novel that you're writing. It's not one book. You are writing several books. It's a box within a box. It's like those Russian matryoshkas.
Mm-hmm.
Because you make a choice and then it goes in one direction, another direction. Sometimes you have 4 choices. So, and from then there comes another stop. You have to make another choice, and then it's a completely different story. You have your basic story, and I don't know. There is some coding in there to get with the program. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you need any kind of engine at all to make something like that. I mean, really, you could use Notepad and make all your different pages, and you could simply say,
"I think." To keep track of all that.
Right, but you could do like the old choose your own adventure thing. So you could say on the first page of it, you could put a notepad, for example, and you could say, hey, you know, whatever, you're in a empty city and you don't know what's going on. Do you go left or do you go right? And then you could say for left, go to page 2 of the notepad. Go to right, go to page 3 of the notepad. You could write this all out. If it's something you want to do, you know, you don't need to find the perfect program to design it in. Put it out on Notepad. Put your ideas out on Notepad. Hey, go to page 3 if you turn right. And then at page 3, you know, do you go in the store or do you go to page 46? Yeah, get it out there. Get it written. Don't make excuses like you have to have a perfect engine to program this in. And then if you really think it's good, if you have your friends read through it and they go through it and they go, wow, that's really cool. I like that. I'd like being able to play that, read that. Then go to Choice of Games and say, hey, here's my game. Put it in your engine. And they cut you a check for 50% of the sales or whatever. I mean, but you wouldn't have to have a very complex engine to make something like that. I mean, you could program it yourself as well in a variety of different engines. You know, basic, even the old Dark Basic program I talked about could do something like that very easily. And that's free.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Yeah, because we're already running a bit over what we normally do, so.
Yeah. Zaxtor, any final thoughts?
No, any final thoughts? I thought you were asking Lord Crocosquirrel there. Final thoughts? You know what? I think that whatever it is that you do, whether you're a gamer, whether you're a YouTube content creator, whether you're just listening to this podcast, you know, as you wash the dishes or whatever, when it comes to gaming, it's the reason I really decided to make my own game as well. It really wasn't about the money. It was because I have a gamer at heart. And I think that all of us, whatever it is that we do in life, we just need to really have fun with it. you know, have fun with whatever it is that you do, whatever game you play, whatever book you read, whatever, you know, whatever you do, have fun with it, enjoy life, and enjoy what it is that you do.
Because if you're not doing the things that are fun for you, you're going to have an issue.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure talking to you guys, Lovely and Lord Crocosquirrel, and maybe we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, we might just. Maybe you'll start turning up the games roundups again. That'll be fun.
There you go.
That would be fun.
Well, it's been my pleasure talking to you guys again and talking to you in an open forum like this and hearing you guys laugh and smile and ask me some questions. Hopefully I've done a good job of answering those for you or anybody else out there that might listen to this podcast.
Yeah, we intended to grill you, but we decided that roasted Zaxtor doesn't sound.
It probably wouldn't taste good. It probably wouldn't taste good anyway. You're older than I am, so
No.
you'd probably be even more gamey.
Yeah, exactly. Probably gamey, good word for it. Gamey. Yeah, pun on words there, right?
See what I did there?
You did.
All
right, guys, have a good one.
You too. Have fun, Zaxtor. Thanks for coming, man. Much
Thanks
appreciated.
for coming, Zaxtor.
Bye.
Right.
Bye.